So here's my Stern Foo Fighters, and since I'm redesigning my circuit boards, just moving plugs and whatever to make sure that you can fit your fingers in between them a little bit easier and things, and also just redesigning kind of some general electrical stuff and how it's going to work. So and looking at this, it's just like you see a lot of cables just going, and it's hard to track them. So again, for mine, I'm doing it the way I think is the best, which one thing you'll see a lot of their bulbs, I don't know if these are 12 volts. They might just be 12-volt bulbs here. So these actually have to be an on and off. These can't be serial RGB LEDs like you would see on like, other platforms right now. So you'll see like right here, just says there's a power and there's a ground, and that just turns on a bulb, and then the insert itself is already colored, so it doesn't need RGB. However, the RGB ones all connect to each other on mine, so all the wiring stays low profile onto the wood from each LED, so they don't have to go through this main cable, and you can track them pretty easily. So it takes all, like half of this wiring just goes down flush. Here's like a light board, right? So they have clock and data coming in here, and then it fills, I think there's 8 LEDs in here. So some of that does go back, and having that board helps. But yeah, that's one thing. Again, there's just a lot of stuff to track, and just when you look at it, it's kind of overwhelming. So you've seen on mine how like there'll just be an input board right here, and it goes to these local inputs, and it's kind of it's really easy to trace them because they're all on their own path. Another thing too I don't like is this main harness carries everything. If you look at mine, I have clips where it's kind of like you can put some wiring here, here, and here, and they're on 4 different like clip paths. So the inputs are on one and data's on the other one and high voltage is on another. It's a little bit easier. I might even just completely separate them into different clips so that you have different wire pathing. But again, this is more global. So everything goes to this right here, right? There's a lot going on in here. So for me, I'm assuming these might be switches. So it's like I have this over here, I have these 8 switches over there, and this board gets condensed quite a bit. So it's kind of easier to manage some things. Now, it does get a little bit bigger because my MOSFET boards aren't crammed in this way, and mine do a logic boost to 12 volts, which I'm gonna try and change at some point, but that'll be a different iteration, maybe in a year or so. Right now, I boost all of my MOSFETs to a different voltage. That's mainly because my chipset is not 5 volts, it's 3.3 volts. So we'll see if I change that at some point. But again, my first revision is going to be different. What else are we looking at? So you'll see here, to keep resistance low from the power supply to here, it looks like there's 6. I believe there's 6. The gray is your positive 48, and 6 black, which is your minus 48. And then it transfers to the play field here. It drops down to 2 and 2. So there's 2 plus 48s and 2 minus 48s. So yeah, it's just converting it down here. I don't know if those are just different fused lines or how that's working, but again, what this is doing is these are 18 gauge, and instead of having like a super thick wire bring a bunch of electricity down here, they're just using 18 gauge common and making it 6 of them go, and that keeps the resistance low so your flippers can get full power and all your coils. One thing I'll tell you I don't like about this game, this is a flawed design. So Jack Danger has 2 games with pretty flawed designs. This needs another switch here. So if you look at this coil actually, it magnetizes downward, and that's what pulls your lock upside in the Foo Fighter. So it's down right now, and you would hit a ball over top of that, and then this would pull in, kick it up. The problem is sometimes the coil will trigger to come down, and it doesn't hit that. It just goes back up. It might just be that I need to change the coil again. It's like, man, it's like 2 to 5% of the time that you play it. It's gotten a little bit worse over time. But when this is in the up position, it should know, there should be a switch here or something that it knows that it's still in the up position. It needs to try and kick down again, because sometimes it stays in the up position and now your ball is stuck from getting inside the mechanism over there. And it doesn't know the state if it's up or down. It just assumes that if the coil triggered, that it made it there. One other thing, I took a look at these MOSFETs and got an image of them. They're IRF 540Zs or so, so they're logic level. I took a look at the ratings on them, so at 5 volts, they're pretty good power ratings. What else? There's another thing I notice if I just leave my game in demo mode, the fan on the main 48 volt power supply will start kicking in. So I'm probably gonna put a relay on there so that the low voltage power supply will power on the chip. And then when the game is in play, that will actually connect the AC line to the other power supply. So it'll normally just have one power supply on and it'll boot the other one as it needs it. Now, another thing, I might be making a mistake here, but it seems to be working fine and we can detect switches all day. But troughs always have like 8 switches. So I think that's just to globalize it so you can make a 4-ball game, 5-ball, 6, 7, 8. But what I do is I just have one switch up here that reads when a ball comes in. So we know at the start of the game, if you would move your one switch exactly where you want. So if it's 3 balls, it would go here. If it's 4 here, 5 here, 6 here. So there's only one switch. When you start the game, if the 5th switch isn't on and you're a 5-ball game, then it would know that the ball is missing. Then as that one kicks into play, it turns off, and then if the ball comes back, it'll register a ball came out. So the system tracks a ball came out and one came in. So it's +1 and then -1. And if it's multi-ball, it's gonna go plus, 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 plus. So it's gonna have 5 balls and then 4, 3, 2, 1. So there's only one switch in there. And I don't know, again, if those are supposed to be globalized so that's easier to manufacture, but what I'm doing is just having a switch, essentially. There's just one. You place it where it is that designates for how many balls you have in the game. If anyone has any issues with that, I don't see any problem with that. We can detect balls all day and what switches they hit. So, and again, so far it's working. So that's how I plan to do my trough. That's gonna save some extra boards. The cost will go down just a few dollars or so, but you have less switches on the play field you need to detect. Talk about one other thing here. So if you see this is the speaker cone case. They're normally powder coated like black. And there's a screw here, and what it's doing is it's just catching the lip, like right inside here, there's an uncoated lip. It's just tiny thin right around the edge there. And it's grounding this metal all the way back to the power supply case. Now, they just stick a screw through here, and they kind of just, I guess, hope it catches it, which it always does. So that's one way to do it. Normally the ground is actually right here, but you would have to solder that or so. You can't just do a plug and play. Actually, these are hard soldered in. That's interesting. If these were plug and play, it'd be easier to replace this, which is what I want to do, is have connectors so you can switch out your speakers if you need to. But again, this, I might put like a small screw through there and have it locking so that you can automatically ground and then get a new speaker in and out without having to solder. But yeah, this is another option, and I can tell you, when I did my demo game at Free Play, the virtual game, I had a subwoofer in it, and I didn't ground this, and as I turned up the volume, it was making the whole playfield just go insane. Like all the switches were registering and stuff, so it was just causing massive interference. I will tell you another thing too, like you see right here, you got a row of 3 lights, a row of 3 lights. If I look over here, there's 1, 2, 3 is there. The spacing is fairly common, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna, instead of having like these big boards where you have a bunch of lights all controlled on one board and they're all custom for all these games, I'll probably have a board that has 3 lights on it and they're all predefined. You would place it and then just kind of change your insert spacing, so it'd be easier because you would just plug one wire in, you know, the data clock and whatever, and it would control 3 lights and then they come out. So they're like kind of universalized light boards. Again, like this one right here controls all your cities, and there's 8 different lights, and they're kind of random, right? So this one doesn't necessarily work for the city over there. You can see all those diamonds and stuff. They're all kind of random. But again, for those ones that are all in a line, you know, that knocks out a lot of wiring because there's usually like 3 inserts in a row, or 4 maybe. So that's just one of the ideas that I have. You can kind of see another one right here. There's an arrow, and then there's a circle, and there's a square there. There's a couple other spots like that. With my new changes, you know, my input boards are all daisy chained. Probably gonna have a separate wire line over here for like another really tiny input board over here for the cabinet. I think this runs expression lighting and maybe some other things if you buy it, I'm not sure, but You know, mine will be one of those tiny boards here, and it'll control all your coin mechs and some other things. That way, when you go to unplug the playfield, you just unplug less wires. Right now, you have to take your left flipper and plug it in, right flipper, plug it in, and start button and plug it in. So they all have to be plugged in, which might not be bad if they're all in one line, like right here, and you could just unplug it and pull the playfield out. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm just going through and making sure I got the final design that I want, that makes sense, the easiest to use.